and also hope far. So today we will be doing our advanced writing grade 8 English research writing. So it is we'll be doing our advanced writing. The topic or chapter will be research writing, English, and we will be focusing specifically on grade 8, or more like it is under the chapter or the grade of grade 8. And before we start with our advanced writing research writing grade 8, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged into aplusstudents.ca with your username as well as your password, and then we're going to select the chapter, the subject of language arts. We select the subject of language art, and then we choose grade 8. And once we have selected grade 8, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of research writing. So we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of research writing. So we are doing advanced writing, grade 8. This is English. And the lessons that we're going to be focusing on. So this is the chapter of research writing and advanced writing. We say that the subject is English language arts, grade 8. And the lessons that we are focusing on is to recognize the parts of a works cited entry, and we're going to use the MLA 7th edition. Then we're going to identify plagiarism, and then we're going to use in-text citation with MLA formatting. So that is going to be our chapter for today and our lessons under our specific chapter. And we are doing our lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So if you want to go back, recap, go over our lesson, the chapter, subject, grade, as well as the lessons are on the board currently, because it is on aplusstudents.ca. All right. So we're going to aplusstudents.ca. So research writing. Basically, from the start of, let's say, secondary school, the main focus will mainly be on writing, research writing, essays, right? And whenever we either do essays, you are going to have to research information. And that is why we call it research writing. And when you research information or you look for information and you find information on the internet, in books, in magazines, in newspapers, in textbooks even, or articles that either researchers have written, then it means that we need to cite who the authors are of these writing pieces. Or we need to say who the author is, or the poet is, or the writer is of these information. Same with plagiarism. If you don't give or you don't tell us who the author is of the information or where you found the information, right? And you just copy and paste from the internet, then we can call that plagiarism. So during the course of this lesson, we are going to identify plagiarism. How will we be able to identify plagiarism? How do we know as staff, teachers, tutors that you have, for example, plagiarized? And then we're also going to use the in-text citation with MLA formatting. Because when you're writing, then it's just not just about writing. You need to show where you got your information. So if you write down either a sentence, right, and you got that sentence from the internet or you got the sentence from a book, then it means that you need to cite, and we call that in text referencing. You need to cite that author. You need to write down the name, the surname, the date, publications, the name of the book. You need to write those things down. And that is on your essay. We don't write all of that on your essay, but at least you write the surname and the year. All right. So now we're going on to our first lesson, which is to recognize the parts of a works cited entry. And we say that we are doing MLA 7th edition. So, in this work cited entry book, right, the medium of publication is print. So the work cited entry book we see the medium of publication is print. And that is basically an example of something. Okay. So when writing research, right, this is research writing. So when we write research papers, you will often be asked to follow a particular style guide for your citations. So in different countries, different universities, different schools, they do different styles, right, of citations. One popular style guide is the Modern Language Association, and we call that the MLA edition, right? So the Modern Language Association handbook. So that is the most popular style, and that is also the guide, the style guide that we use, right? Which is the MLA 7th edition. So also when it comes to citations, right, is not just the intake citation that I mentioned earlier on. When you have done your research paper, your essay, you got your information either from different authors, right? Then it means that you need to have either, we call it a bibliography or a reference list. And now we are going to give you a breakdown or a list of how you can cite either books, essays, articles, magazines, especially under the Guide of Modern Language Association, which is the MLA 7th edition handbook. All right, so if we go to the library and you are searching and looking for certain information in a book, so if we cite books, right, here we have the format as well as examples. So the format of citing a book is to first have the authors, it's like their names. We need to have the title of the book, the city of publication, like New York, for example. We need to have the publisher, person who published the book, as well as the year of publication. And then you need to give the medium of publication. And there they're giving us an example, which is, for example, Austen Jane, which is surname name, Pride and Prejudice, New York publications, New York Dover Publications, 1995, and the medium of publication is print. Then, if you cite essays, short stories, or poems in a book or collection, then we need to give the authors' names. You need to write down the essay, poem, or short story title. So, the title of the essay, the poem, or the short story, the book title, and what edition, the editor, the name, city of publication, publisher, year of publication, the page number, as well as the medium of publication. And then we can also cite magazines, right? Because remember, we can also get information from magazines. We can get information from newspapers. And there we also have an example of a magazine as well as a newspaper, which is basically the same, right? When it comes to citing. So with magazines as well as newspaper articles, right? We need to first give the names of the authors, article title. So the title of the article, whether it's a title of a magazine or newspaper date or the newspaper, you need to give the date of publication, like when this article was published either in the magazine or when it was published in the newspaper. The pages, like what pages are we, did you research within the newspaper or on the magazine or in the magazine, and the medium of publication. Then you can also get information on web pages, right? So, which means that we need to first write down the names of these people on the other side of the web pages, the page title, number of websites, publisher, date of publication, medium of publication, as well as date of access. So that is when you are just looking for information, especially on the internet. All right. So when it comes to research writing, right? So there's additional guidelines. With your additional guidelines, right? Remember, you always need to write down the name of the author or the name of the writer. The first author's name is written in last name, then first name format, meaning it is first the surname, and then we write the name. For example, Smith Jane, which means that it's Jane Smith, but we first go by surname. Additional author names are written in first name and last name format. So which means that it's like saying and mm. Then we have the medium of publication, and each entry must include information about what form the content was communicated in. And the most common mediums are either in print or it's in web, right? But other possibilities include either film, email, or lectures. Remember, you can also lecture slides or information or slides or information that, let's say, a teacher gives. That can also be a form of research. And then missing information. If a work has no author, right? If a work has no known author, the author section of the citation is simply left out, right? So if there's no author, there's no date, right? And then you can simply just leave it out. There's no page number, you may leave it out, right? All right. So that is but a few examples of how we can cite and what we can cite. For example, like books, magazines, newspaper, web pages, as well as essays, short stories, or poems within a book of collections, right? That was but just a few examples, but that is the common ones, right? Of how you can, or how you're supposed to write the format of the research writing or the citations, right? And then they also gave us examples. All right. Okay, so now if we look at this citation, right? It says select the medium of publication in the works cited entry for a book. So we need to select the medium of publication. It is Forbes Esther, Johnny Tremaine, Boston, Houston Mifflin Company, 1943, and then print. So if we select the medium of publication, and then we can then choose the medium of publication, which is print. So print being the medium of publication. They published the books. So print is the medium of publication. Wangerin, David, Soccer in a Football World, Philadelphia, Temple University. Press 2006. Print. We need to select the author's last name in the works cited entry for a book. And if we select the author's surname, because the last name is like a surname, then it is Wangaren. So that is the author, the author's last name of that entry book. And there's but just a few examples again, or information as to how you can cite. We need to select the medium of publication in the works cited entry for this newspaper article. We have Riccinelli, Vito J. At last, stocks are in the black for 2016. Barron's 21 March 2016. MR Print. And if we select the medium of publication, then the medium of publication will be print. So print once again is the medium of publication. So print. All right. So now let's go to our test. We need to select the medium of publication in the works cited entry for a short story in a collection. So Steinbeck, John, Tortillas and Beans, the Portable Steinbeck edition, Pascal Covici, Junior, New York, Penguin Books, 1943, 183 to 195 for print. So the medium of publication within the cited piece, which is a short story, is print. We need to select the medium of publication in the works cited entry for this newspaper article. So we need to select the medium of publication in the works cited entry for a newspaper article. Is it Rosheni, Beetle, J? At last, stocks are in the back for 2016. Patents 21 March 2016 M3 print. And we see the medium of publication looks like print. And print is the medium of publication. We need to select the date of access in the works cited entry for a web page. So within a web page, we even have access dates, right? And times. So select the date of access in this works cited entry for a web page. So 2018 FIFA World Cup Russia, FIFA.com, FIFA. No date Wednesday, 12 October 2015. All right, so let's say 12 for 12 October. And 12 is correct because that is basically, oopsie, 12 October. We need to select the author's last name in this works cited entry for a book. The last name. Wenger David, Soccer in a Football World, Philadelphia, Temple University Press, 2006 print. The last name, is it Wangerin or David? So I think the last name is Wangerin. It's David Wangerin. Yes. We need to select the publisher in this works cited entry for a book. The publisher. Forbes Esther Johnny Tremaine Boston Houston Milton Company 1943 printer. So we need to look at the all right, so we have Forbes Esther Johnny Tremaine. We need to select the publisher in this works cited entry for a book. Is it Houston or Boston? And if we select the publisher, and then we can say it is Houston. And Houston is correct. We need to select the poem title in this works cited entry for a poem in collection. Coleridge, Samuel Taylor, The Rime of Ancient Marina, Selected Poetry and Prose of Coleridge, edition Donald A. Stouffer, New York, Random House Modern Library, 1951, 6 to 23 print. We need to select the poem title. Is it Selected Poetry or The Rime of the Ancient Mariner? All right, so I think it's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner because it is in inverted commas. Yes. Now we need to select the publisher in this work's cited entry for an essay in a collection. So we need to select the publisher, which is Angelo Meyer. Power of the Word, Wouldn't Take Nothing for My Journey Now, New York, Random House, 1993. So we need to select the publisher. And the publisher is Random House. And Random House is correct. All right, so that is recognizing the parts of the works cited entry, which is the seventh edition. Now we're going on to identifying plagiarism. How do we identify plagiarism? Do you know that the more you plagiarize, especially if you go to university, you can either be suspended or go to jail because you're taking someone's work that is not yours, and that is plagiarizing. Plagiarizing is taking someone else's work and then making it as your own. So we need to identify plagiarism. And plagiarism is the act of taking another person's work. So we're by plagiarism now. And we said plagiarism is the act of taking another person's work or ideas and presenting them as your own, either accidentally or even on purpose. So when you use outside outside sources in your writing, you must be careful to avoid plagiarism. So with plagiarism, right, you need to stick to your, let's say, your different forms of citing. If you're citing a book, then you need to write down the details of it. So when you use outside sources in your writing, you must be careful to avoid plagiarism. And that is where we spoke about the citations, which is either the intake citation or you need to have a reference where it is, if you maybe got information from a book, and then you need to write down the proper information of a book. If you got something from a newspaper or magazine, you need to write down the proper reference list or citation of that newspaper, magazine, article, wherever you get the information from. Because plagiarism is the act of taking another person's work or ideas and then you presenting it as your own. Yes, sometimes it can be accidentally, but most times it is on purpose. And when you use outside sources in your writing, you must be careful to avoid plagiarism. An example is, okay, let's look at this quote, right? A quote is when you copy a source's exact words. And if you quote a source, you must put words that were copied into the quotation mark and cite the original source. So with the quotation, right? Remember we need to you need when you quote something, right? It means that you're taking that exact thing that someone said in an article or a book. It's not yours, but you're taking it exactly what the next person said, what the other person said. So if you write it as your own, then you're also going to put it in inverted commas. That will show that you have basically quoted either from an article, from a book, magazine, or you quoted from somewhere. So when it comes to quoting, right, internet users appreciate how the internet increases the capacity to share ideas. But internet users appreciate how the internet increases their capacity to share ideas. And as you can see, but the second one, that one was probably taken exactly as someone else said, and it was put in inverted commas. Then we have a paraphrase. And paraphrase is when you use an idea from a source and put it into your own words. So if you are taking ideas and information from people, sources, books, internet, right, and you write it as your own, then you're going to have to summarize whatever that you wrote. All right. So there we basically, they're just repeating quote as well as paraphrasing. And paraphrasing is where it's almost like you're summarizing it, right? Summarizing whatever the person said, but you are putting it in your own words. You're putting it in your own words. That is paraphrasing. And remember, we said with a quote, you need to write it in inverted commas. All right, let's go to the test. We need to compare the students' text with the source, right? There we have the source, which is Mark Aronson and Marina Boudreaux. Sugar Changed the World, page 10, and it is published by Clarion Books 2010. And to this day, you can find piles of sugar cane heaped in tropical markets, offering buyers a refreshing treat that is somewhere between a candy bar and an energy drink. So the students' sticks, by either paraphrasing, is sugarcane tastes like a cross between an energy drink and a candy bar. Hmm, okay. So now we need to say if this is plagiarized or not plagiarized. We can say this is not plagiarized. So we can say no, this is not plagiarized because here he paraphrased. So that is correct. If you paraphrase and write it in your own words, then it is not plagiarizing. Plagiarizing is when you're taking that exact information, exact words, exact everything, and you write it as your own. Mm. So now, the second one says, we need to compare the student's text with the source, right? The source is Michelle Z. Deneau. How much does it really cost the planet to make a penny? Published on Smithsonian Smithsonian.com 2016. And Michelle says that pennies have an estimated 25 years lifespan. But because so many of them fall through proverbial cracks, demands from year to year varies. And the students' respond is, as Donay writes, every year the demand for pennies varies because so many of them fall through proverbial cracks. This is also good. This is the person's own words or written in its own words. It is summarized, right, which we call paraphrased. And it is not taken exactly as what the person said. So we can say it is not plagiarized. Oh, unless if it says it is plagiarized, and it means that because he did not, or this person did not put the necessary in-text referencing. Remember also with plagiarism, with paraphrasing, as much as we are paraphrasing and writing something as your own, you are going to have to say, for example, where you quoted it from. We need to compare the student's text with the source. The source is Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel, pages 39 to 40. Anyone has experienced firsthand the overwhelming power of the life size painted bull and horses in the Lascaux cave of southwestern France will understand at once that their creators must have been as modern as the minds as they were in the skeletons. So that is Jared Diamond. So now this is one of the students. If you've seen the ancient painting in France, Lexus Cave, then you know that their creators must have been as modern in their minds as they were in their skeletons. And that is Diamond 39 to 40. So you see there we have an index referencing and we have our quotation marks. So no, it is not plagiarism. So yeah, correct. That is not plagiarism, meaning it is not plagiarized. All right, we read to the last one. Then we have Charles Bethia, two of the world's greatest shooters, considered the four-point shot, published in the New York 2016. So Charles says, of course, the three-pointer, like the miniskirt, was once a shocking idea. Two, the American Basketball Association, which merged with the NBA in 1976, was the first major basketball league to adopt it. So now the students' text, right? As Bethea points out, three-point shots in basketball were once considered controversial. In this case, there's no in-text referencing, no quotations, nothing, right? So as much as it is paraphrased, but there is no in-text referencing telling us who or where they got the information from. Oh, so it's actually not plagiarized. All right. So that is basically us identifying plagiarism. Remember when we identify plagiarism and we are doing any research, writing and recognizing parts of the work citations, you need to stick to the cited or the cited work citations that your school goes with. So in this case, we are recognizing the parts work cited entry, which is the MLA 7th edition. So different citations like Harvard, APA, they have their own ways of citing either books, articles, magazines, right? So if you do also cite things in order to avoid plagiarism, right, and making something as your own, then you need to either cite or quote or do the necessary citations to show that you got this research either from a book, a magazine, an article, or maybe you got it um, on the internet. So that is the end now of our lesson on research writing. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I really hope that you're going to have a good day further. Goodbye.